Hey, my name is Alex Ferror. I'm a Brazilian artist living in Atlanta, Georgia. My Brazilian background influenced my artwork in many different ways. I mean, as everybody knows, when we think about Brazil, it's a very colorful art and culture driven country. So I'm also from São Paulo, and São Paulo is considered the capital of street art in the southern hemisphere. And I grew up surrounded by street art and Brazilian graffiti my whole childhood. So I can say that growing up in a city where street art is everywhere, and being a curious kid for cartoons, Brazilian comic books, I was introduced to American comic books later on, but most of the work you see me doing today is influenced by the very first comic books I read when I was probably 6 or 7 years old. Yeah, São Paulo is a big cultural center in South America and of course in Brazil. And I was exposed to, I mean, even though coming from a simple childhood and my family was not very, it's still not very art oriented, it's not very cultural oriented. So I didn't grow up going to theater. I didn't grow up going to like museums and galleries. To me, that's why I still value street art so much. And regardless of being an illustrator, a fine art painter, and sometimes playing with animation and this and that, I will always consider myself primarily a muralist because I value and I'm thankful for the value of street art. Because the street art to me is extremely democratic, and to me it's a way to introduce art to kids that don't have access to galleries, to museums, or to like biennales and all that. So yeah, that's how that was my segue, and it's just like giving back. I remember from early childhood having my big sister bringing like color books and also comic books, and I was always in front of the TV. I was always one of the. Even though I played outside a lot, I come from that generation that still played outside a lot. Sometimes I would exchange playing with the other kids outside to stay inside watching cartoons, uh, reading comic books, and also drawing, right? And so I feel like as I evolved, and I keep saying that my work hasn't changed much from my drawings when I was 8, 9, 10 years old to what I do now. It is still very colorful, it's still very character based, and it's still very childlike. So what I'm doing is what I feel that's my mission with my work is refining the work that little Alex used to do when he was 8 years old or 10 years old. So cartoon, comic books, and graffiti combined into the style I present today. Very often people say like, you have this very Brazilian South American style in your work. And to me, that's an honor. That's the biggest compliment you can have because that was organic. Like I honestly never forced anything. Yeah, childhood and childhood memories and childhood dreams are the main part of my work. Not only my subject matter, but also all the inspiration around it, right? So I feel like every time I get a sketchbook, I make an instant connection with the little Alex, with the 8-year-old Alex, And I remember there is this story when I was a kid. I was drawing one day, and my godfather, asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I'm sorry, when I was a kid. I remember drawing at home, and my godfather at the time came to me and asked me what I wanted to be as a grown up, and I said I want to be an illustrator and an artist and a superhero. And then he laughed, like almost like making fun of me, and walked away. And to me, I was like, what did I say wrong? And nowadays, when the grown up Alex is drawing, especially when I'm painting murals, I feel so empowered. And that to me is like, it's me being an artist and also creating something that has the power of creating positive impact in other people's lives. And that's my way to be a superhero. So when I wear my overalls or my painting clothes all full of paint, that's my superhero uniform, and I'm going to do my little part in saving the world. Pink is I want to say is the main color in my work. Not only because my main character is this giant pink bear called Dom, which from Portuguese means gift, not the gift that you give to someone, but the gift you receive from God or your talents, right? So Dom is a pink bear, and pink is everywhere in my work. Not only because I love the color, I love the combinations with pink and green, which is also in Brazil. You know, Carnival is huge, and we have different Carnival affiliations. We call it schools of samba, and my school of samba in Brazil is Mangueira, and their colors is green and pink. But also, we as Latino, we come from a very machismo culture, a very macho culture, and I also I'm a firm believer on the power of art in being a political statement. And to me, as a man and as a straight male, telling other people that hey, you can like pink and still be cool. You can like pink, and you know, like it's. And again, my work is very uh, children related, so it's also a commentary to the kids. Hey, forget about this thing that boys can like pink or girls can like blue. You have to like the color that makes you happy, and pink makes me happy. So I'll keep working with that. I've also have, I can say, a very international life so far. I was born in Brazil, and even within Brazil, I lived in a couple of places. I'm from São Paulo originally. My family's from São Paulo. I grew up in a coastal town in São Paulo, and that makes a strong connection with beach and the ocean. I love that. And then as an adult, I moved to Rio, lived in Rio my last years in Brazil, and then we moved to Atlanta. We actually came to Atlanta in 2015 as part of what would be a sabbatical year. I would visit friends in different cities around the world. The first destination would be Atlanta, and I ended up falling in love with Atlanta. And we ended up staying. I went to school here. I studied communication at Perimeter College, Georgia State University. Um, and after graduating and spending one more year here, I moved to Lisbon, Portugal. And I spent almost 4 years living in Lisbon. Unfortunately, the timing wasn't the best. I lived there during the pandemic years. I moved right before it, so it was a tough period there. But also, after coming from Atlanta and living in a very vibrant, open-minded, city with a very vibrant and welcoming street art community, and going to a place where the mentality is a little bit different, more closed. They're not very welcoming to people coming from other places, especially if they have different styles, different ideas, which is the opposite of Atlanta, or at least the Atlanta that I have experienced. We decided to come back because this feels like home. And we came back 2 years ago, and it felt like I never left because my art community was still here, was still welcoming. You know, like I had, as my studio is a proof of that. I have this strong friend slash family community that embraced us, that gives us all the opportunity to start over again, and I couldn't be happier. As a muralist, I've painted in Brazil and several cities in the U.S., but also in Mexico City, in Lisbon, and Valencia in Spain. Oh yeah, and many other places to go. Atlanta art community is a treasure. I feel like I've been to many different places, including in the U.S. I have many friends in other. I have several friends in other big art cities in the U.S., such as Miami and New York. I go there. I've painted there. But even my friends from there say how Atlanta is inclusive, how Atlanta is embracing, uh, and how Atlanta artists are supportive to each other. So I feel like something that always fascinates me about this community here, it's how artists are sharing opportunity with other artists. They're helping each other. They're creating opportunities to help other artists to build their career. In the tough world that we're living right now, I feel like as we get older, we're being disconnected to our whimsical selves. We're losing contact to our inner child, and my work aims to reconnect that. So you see these colorful kids playing with their imaginary friends and all these very whimsical elements, but honestly, they're all allegories to reconnect us, the grown-ups, to our inner children, to our inner kids, right? And reminds us that there is beauty outside. There is, like there's whimsy that we can't replace for all the toughness, the rough news we see every day. So it's my little contribution on making people's life a little bit more colorful, a little bit more whimsical and kind.